by the Mail's Andrew Pearce, the Mirror's Kevin Maguire from the Conservative Party conference in Birmingham. Andrew, can Liz Truss pull this speech off?
Look, let's be blunt about Liz Truss. She's not a great speaker. In fact, she's poor. And I don't think much will have changed about her speaking style since the Tory leadership campaign. She's going to do it. It's going to be a short, sharp speech in the sense it's going to be 25 minutes, we think. Normally, they drone on for 55 minutes or an hour. Last year, we had his mate Starmer speaking for 90 minutes, dear God. So it's going to be short and sharp. And what she's going to have to do is try and knock everybody... remind people that there were very good parts of that mini-budget. The freeze on energy prices, the cut in income, basic rate of income tax, cancelling the national insurance rise. But she knows the whole conference has been hijacked by the row over the top rate of income tax, and now there's another row over whether they will or won't uprate benefits in line with inflation. I think they will, but this has been hanging out for days now, suggesting they might not. So it looks like there's another major revolt. And what's happening, Ed, here, which is very unusual, Cabinet ministers publicly stating what they say she should or shouldn't do. Well, normally, that's the sort of thing which happens behind closed doors.
Kevin, we ran a poll yesterday. Should there be a general election? 81,000 votes in that, and 93% saying there should be a general election. Now, I wonder whether the Conservatives themselves... We already heard Nadine Dorries yesterday suggesting there should be an election because some of the policies that Liz Truss is proposing, you know, don't seem to chime with what Nadine Dorries's former boss, Boris Johnson, wanted to do. But do you think even at the top of government, people are thinking there definitely needs to be a leadership election?
Yeah, I think that's right, Susanna. They wouldn't want a general election because there's one poll today showing Labour's got a 38% lead, 61 to 23. If that was on an athletics track, they would have lapped Liz Truss and the Conservatives, so they will be hammered, absolutely annihilated. But it's that contest in her. That's why there's open speculation. You watched Suella Braverman yesterday, a Home Secretary, who did get a very warm reception because she pressed all the buttons on migration and played a lot of rhetorical tricks. But Liz Truss, 25 minutes for a big leader's speech. Andrew's answer to Ed was longer than that. It's barely enough for a tweet. It's because she's got so little to say, and every time she's opened her mouth in interviews the past 4 days, she's made it worse. She's dug herself deeper into a hole. We've seen the divisions.
Let me put you on the spot, the two of you, because we know if she simply attacks the opposition, that doesn't work when you're in trouble, and if she simply kind of is in denial, doesn't work. She's got to address the issue and try and make it work for her. Remember Ian Duncan Smith doing his quiet man speech? That was clearly an example of it failing. Margaret Thatcher, the lady's not for turning, that worked for her, addressing the issue. What can she say today in this speech which actually addresses what's gone wrong in a way which makes her come out stronger and unites the party? Is there a way to do this, and what would you advise her?
I would go for a masochism strategy and admit, look, we've made big fundamental mistakes the past few days. We got to admit it. We were tired. We can blame the Queen again, as Kwasi Kwarteng did, the Queen's funeral, which is, I find a bit uncomfortable, even as a die-hard Republican. But just admit, come clean, try and start again. It's very rare in politics for a leader to require a relaunch after 4 weeks. But Liz Truss does, because she cannot just carry on as she is. And the briefing was dire in advance. She says, of course you're always going to get disruption if you're going to change things. this was self-inflicted disruption, and it's cost people dear when 40% of mortgage deals are taken back, interest rates have gone up on mortgages that are still there. The Bank of England's been forced to spend £65 billion
pounds. That figure's not right. No,
propping up
not right.
propping up the pound.
They haven't spent that.
Andrew, tell us what she's got to say.
It's a programme.
They have not spent that.
It's a programme.
That is a that Carrie knows that figure is not correct.
Tell us what she's got to say,
That's a figure
Andrew.
from the Bank of England.
No, they spent currently around £3.5 billion. They could spend up to £65 billion, so that figure is a complete... and Kevin knows it's not right.
No,
it's not right, Kevin.
It's a £65
they
billion
have
programme.
Not spent £65 billion. They haven't spent £65 billion.
Andrew, what should Liz Truss say today? Because I can see, Andrew,
she's got
the look on your face probably
she's
reflects the look on the faces of a lot of those who are the party faithful within the hall. People look downbeat. They need to be rallied. What can she say to lift your and their spirits?
Well, let me tell you, there's not a lot of people here. They've cleared off. She should have done the speech yesterday because there's a rail strike today. I think you're speaking to one of the trade union leaders today. So the hall in which she speaks is going to be half empty, which is, again, not a great optic. They should have just moved the speech till yesterday. However, they didn't, so we are where we are. She's got to show humility and say, I got it wrong, because she's the Prime Minister, she's the First Lord of the Treasury, and then she's going to tell us, I'm told, a bit more about who she is, because people don't know who the Prime Minister is, they don't know much about her background, the journey she's been on. Ed was teasing her yesterday about the fact she was a Remainer, she's now a Brexiteer, she was a Lib Dem when she was at university, she's not now. I think people are entitled to change their views. So she's got to show humility, and she's got to show some warmth, and she's also got to show some great rhetorical flourishes.
One thing
I'm
you've
not
got
so
to say,
sure
Andrew...
she'll pull the last bit off.
You'd have to say expectations are staggeringly low, aren't they? I mean, the bar is very low.
Yeah, that helps.
For this speech.
Helps.
So it ought to be possible for her to do better than you expect.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's absolutely right.
As long as she doesn't cough, the letters don't fall off the set behind her, and somebody doesn't try to give her a P45. She doesn't have a Theresa May. But she could say sorry. She could say, I'm going to resign, but she won't. She's going to resign. She's got to apologise, own the terrible mistakes, and say, well, I'm resilient. We can go again. May not work, but I think it's our only strategy.
But the one other thing here you've got to say, so the idea that the Tories are about to dump another leader so quickly without a general election, because if they replaced her and put another leader in, the clamour for a general election would be overwhelming. And I don't think the Conservative Party is ready for a general election at the moment. And I know your poll, Susanna said 83%, but I still think about what Brenda in Bristol said. Another election,
93%.
The leadership election has begun, though, hasn't it, Andrew? I mean, it is underway now. They are already...
It began the day after she was elected.